Sure, I'll start. I'm Michael, co-founder and CEO of ZeroG. At ZeroG, we're building the largest AI intelligence layer, which consists of a full-stack decentralized operating system. It includes a layer 1 that's infinitely scalable, includes a storage network, includes a compute network that does inferencing, fine-tuning, pre-training as well. And then we also have a service marketplace, which is our version of the App Store. Effectively, we have about 500 projects that work with us already and have raised about 250 million, and also have an ecosystem grant, investment, liquidity type of program that's about 88.8 million. So we want to work with the best builders in the space of AI meets Web3. So come talk to us after.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Bitlayer. Bitlayer currently is one of the largest BVM Bitcoin scaling solutions, focused on two things. One is Bitcoin trust minimized bridge, which is a third generation Bitcoin bridging solution. The second is the BVM GRAS-16 verifier to settle the transaction on Bitcoin block to achieve the Bitcoin security and Bitcoin finality. So we, during the kind of ordinal season 2 years ago, we kicked off trying to solve this kind of Bitcoin lack of programmability problem. So last year we did a lot of campaigns. We brought like top mining pool, 1/3 of Bitcoin hash rate actually supporting us on the BVM bridge, and over 61 million transactions we made since we launched the mainnet. All-time high, we hit 1.2 billion TVL. So currently our YBDC, we are distributing to different EVM and non-EVM chains, collaborating with interesting ecosystems such as Sui, Solana, and many other coming ecosystems. Potentially with ZeroG and others as well.
My name is Jiang, representing CertiK. I'm working as a Chief Business Officer. So CertiK, a little bit of introduction. We were founded back in 2018. We are the largest security service provider in this industry. We serve more than 4,800 different projects. We're on the IPO path. We've got similar to ZeroG's investment, about $250 million investment, currently valued at $2 billion.
Thank you, guys. Let's begin by setting the stage, and I would love to learn how may I have your perspective on what the intersection of AI and Web3? What does it mean?
It can mean a lot of things. It can be a meme, so purely speculation, or it can actually be real utility as well. So on the utility side, the way we imagine Web3 meets AI is that we can actually build AI that's a public good. And what I mean by that is, effectively, if you have an AI that's not black box AI, where you don't understand where the data came from, who labeled the data, who made the censorship decisions, what version of the model you're running, all of that's completely black box. You're basically having one player that you have to be aligned with that then makes the alignment decisions. The opposite to that is decentralized AI. Everything's transparent. You've got full provenance of the data, you've got full verifiability, you've got full openness, you have full trust in the entire system. And so with that level of system, you can have user-owned and community-owned type of AI that then dictates what values we want in that particular AI and what censorship we want in that particular AI. But everything's fully transparent, but yet private if you want it to be. And so it's a completely different vision of what AI can actually be. And so this can ensure that when you use AI for societal level use cases like logistics systems, manufacturing systems, governance systems in the future, that you can be rest assured that everything is transparent and fully managed. Because how can you trust something you can't verify? And that's the key question we asked ourselves when building ZeroG. And that's why we built this level of complex infrastructure to support all of these different use cases.
Yeah, so I think Michael mentioned a lot of good points. If things are not verifiable, right, it's due to the Web2 world. Certainly AI has been a very important pivotal technology. We as a company, we use AI solution in databases across all the processing management, all the document management now. I see a lot of gaming companies, some of them we talked before, back in days, before I started Bitlayer, I know a lot of Web3 gaming companies, a lot of them completely shift their focus as well. Because there's a lot of work process and workflow that can be optimized with AI. And now with AI agent, I see interesting potential. A lot of them actually still memes, as what Michael said. I know Virtual's team very well. Before they started Virtual, they were gaming guys. Instead of using AI agent to create meme coin, but I think what gets me interested, while building infrastructure for Bitcoin is on the payment side. I think this is the cycle stablecoins payment will become really achieving the mass adoption. We see AI agent with some payment solution which can actually automate and optimize a lot of the decision making on chain. Things actually people shouldn't really focus look in front of your screen 24/7. You can kind of delegate, authorize to some AI agent to do payment things. What we're building Bitcoin stuff, right? What's relevant for us to look at AI is there's a few AI payment solutions we trying to support with liquidity, and I think at the end of the day, if we talk about interaction between Bitcoin, Web3 and AI, it's about the whole financial workflow, right? How we can use AI to make a more optimized in terms of on-chain asset management or payment. At the end of the day, Web3 is about on-chain verifiable transactions and where the liquidity come from, how the transaction will be settled. AI can be relevant. We are still early stage. When people are asking, how can we disrupt the entire Web3 space in terms of DeFi and all that, I was like, calm down, guys. We can't even trust a lot of the DeFi protocols, and a lot of the human touch still needed. There's still a lot of centralized exchanges, and also custody is still very centralized. And there's a reason they exist, right? So let's just don't overhype about AI just disrupt everything and automate everything. Not your keys, not your coins. So in the Bitcoin world, we still have a lot of human touch on that. But AI can be a very useful tool for some process.
Yeah. So from CertiK point of view, we can offer two views. One is from the security side of it. I mean, implementing the AIs for the security testings that we do day in and day out. Our view is that AI is definitely one of the most powerful tool that we've been trying, because we do a lot of in-house tools to increase the efficiency and the accuracy of our auditing assessments. And AI is so far, it's been very, very promising. What it can do is to increase the efficiency and let our auditors concentrate on the corner cases or the logics of the design of the protocols. It cannot overtake the manual work yet, but with the evolution of the AI tools, it's definitely on the way. Second is that what's really promising. It's about it opens up a new frontier for our work because all the AI agents are being published and it's on their way to come out. Those are all our potential clients, so to speak. So we've been in-house. We have been experiencing a lot of scenarios and very much looking forward to work with CertiK as well to see what kind of developments in their house and how we can, from a testing point of view, how we can do a better job.
Thank you for your answers. And now I have another question. After your answers, we have a problem with the current AI implementation because of the performance failures. What do you think about if we have community-driven solutions or collective resource sharing thanks to blockchain features?
Is that answer
Yes, please.
questions to me? I think to us, the AI and the Web3, it's a pretty good. It's almost like a perfect marriage. It addresses AI is from the centralization point of view. It utilizes a lot of the centralization, the infrastructures, the APIs, those kind of things. But at the same time, you got to worry about the user data protections. You got to worry about the verified sources of your data, and then also, you want to know how to produce results reliably and repetitively, and those can be addressed through the Web3 technologies. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, but for example, if we are talking about an ideal, can we really have skill sets to achieve this ideal using AI with the help of blockchain's features?
I think we're all trying. Until we achieve that goal, there's no 100% answer. But looking at this role, I think we're all trying. I think that's a consensus, is that we need to merge. I mean, there is a clear future to merge the Web3 and AI technologies.
So yeah, well, we're not AI expert, right? Definitely not like as expert at Michael's team. We look at the Web3 angle, right? I think there's a lot of amazing tools and companies that have been built in Web2 world, right? Like DeepSeek, OpenAI, they're doing interesting stuff. Large model is here to stay. With that assumption, there's a lot of things humans shouldn't do, right? We can be replaced by AI, be optimized by AI, so to speak. But the key characteristic of when we talk about Web3 and AI intersection, especially from the community angle you mentioned, I think we do see a few keywords which we emphasize a lot. It's like first principle Web3. One is security. How the security being maintained, being verified on-chain in a decentralized manner, right? If it's not that, then we go back to Web2, like we just trust companies like Coinbase, OpenAI, whatnot, like the big names, but like they have like a secret board, manage the things, make a decision, right? And then goes against the entire first principle of Bitcoin, right? Which is on-chain verifiable, decentralized. So I think when we look at the security part, how we are doing is we launched a couple of rounds of bug bounty campaign, right? And I see there's a lot of security hacks, like we talk about security experts here. We have like professional teams can do the auditing, and then we see AI tooling can be a very interesting monitoring tool, right? And then work with community from different angles for the bug bounties and see things you don't really see, right? And I think that's an interesting angle, first of all. The second angle is we treat AI agent potential will be the future of community member, right? I think what we want to build in the Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem in the future, so for some micro transaction or micro kind of asset management on-chain, AI agent can be treated as almost like a user property, right? There's going to be some interesting AI agent DeFi tooling, use Bitcoin as liquidity, doing also interesting transactions. I see some companies that kind of exploring that. It's still very much like a meme coin launchpad kind of thing, which is like the status quo, but that's kind of for the sake of the engineering, the hype. But I think in the future it will be more like less hype driven, more like actual payment driven. But AI agent could be part of the users. They are tooling complete. Like literally, as we can treat them as like a decentralized user, as like the human being as well. For us, building a decentralized, verifiable Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem, we don't care. Our counterparty is an AI agent or a real human, as long as actually they follow the on-chain rules. It's verifiable, right? And then they're part of the community in the future, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
What's possible today is effectively if you have an iPhone, you can install a small language model that's open source, that's quantized, and run it on your iPhone. Now the issue with that is you can't easily verify that to somebody and say that, okay, I did exactly this computation and then provide it as a service to somebody else. Because for that, in order for it to be effective, you need a hardware-based solution today so that you don't have massive amounts of overhead when you do the compute. And so the most effective solution is to have a H100 or H200 that's running a trusted execution environment that can then serve that to a user. So, which then means what's actually possible today from a verifiable AI perspective is that, let's say you have a user and you have a H100 and like a shared data center or even a home-based type of setup that's close to you that then loads a particular model and then delivers the tokens to you as you're running inference time. So that's pretty much possible. It's also possible to now train decentralized models up to 100 billion parameters in a fully distributed setting, utilizing things like H100s for verification. We just released a paper on that, so that's probably the largest model that's been trained in a decentralized setting that way. But we can't yet do 400 billion parameter models or beyond with that type of methodology. What's also not possible today is to use consumer devices because they don't have trusted execution devices on them. So for that, you need a software-based methodology to verify that a particular compute step happened. And we're working on a software-based solution. In an early test, it has about a 2 to 3x overhead. So already looking pretty promising because most of the solutions are like ZK LLM, where you have massive amounts of overhead. You have to wait for large language models, literally, I think 16 hours before you get your first token. Like, who wants to use a system like that? Maybe for certain computations that makes sense, but that would be like such a small subset. So that's not possible yet, both in inference as well as on the decentralized training side. What we imagine is that eventually the 200 million plus consumer devices that are out there, the GPUs, you should be able to offer them so that you can train very large scale models, be a participant in that model, and then actually own a part of that model so that when the model is used in production, you can actually get paid for being a contributor to that model. And so that's not yet possible, that's still research stage, but I would say we're maybe a year or two away from that.
Thank you. And another question, AI systems improve the large data sets, as we all know, but Web3 emphasizes user data control. How can we balance these needs? And can we still train useful AI models while giving users meaningful data sovereignty? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the moment your data is used, let's say you use inference with ChatGPT, the moment you do that, it's on ChatGPT's or OpenAI servers, effectively. And then you lose control over whatever data you gave. If you had some confidential client information on that, then OpenAI can use that to train their models, even though there may be a button that says don't use it, but it's effectively on their servers at this point. And so you lost control over that data aspect. With Web3, what you can do effectively is because it's on a shared network, you can keep the data completely private. You can encrypt the data, you can use FHE to run certain processes, so you can maintain complete control. And only if the user says, you can use my data, but then I want to get compensated for that data. So it opens up new possibilities of monetization as well. So Web3 gives you a lot more control over what to do with a particular customer's data, treat it as private or public, but when it's public, you can actually monetize it.
Yeah, we do see the demand on the private transaction side, because we're working on the DeFi side, right? The trade-offs, bring the transaction on-chain, make it verifiable, is you make it a lot more things more transparent. So the people you don't want to disclose to, right? They actually access a lot of on-chain data and track what happened, what kind of position you have in terms of the on-chain perpetual DEXs, option protocols. So in Bitlayer, we have around 250 different types of DeFi protocols. A lot of them actually are purely on-chain, right? So kind of a pure DeFi focused, self-custody kind of Bitcoin DeFi use cases. On one side, some of the institutions who are pretty comfortable using derivatives and all the other centralized platforms, they are having a hard time to actually understand, right? Why to move everything on-chain. So I think we do see some kind of either FFG or ZKVM kind of a component on the private transaction side, for the DeFi use cases. And the value of bringing transaction on-chain, make it verifiable, not like being in the black box and manipulated. I think that's very clear. But I think make it transparent, make it private, and actually maybe make a monetization model, as what Michael said. Like for some institution or some of the company, due to the regulatory reason, they can't just disclose everything, right? I think that's kind of the trade-offs when we talk about perpetual DEX on Coinbase and all that, and whereas the other one is like Hyperliquid, which is very popular right now. People look at your position, right? For whales, they don't want to disclose their position, right? So it's kind of like the multi-party game theory when we talk about trading activities on-chain. Our mission is to bring things on-chain. There's a value to make things on-chain verifiable, but there's a trade-offs. So there's like the byproduct we need to create and to enhance that.
Well said. I don't have any more. Let's move on to the next one.
Thank you. And now the best question for my side, because at the start I mentioned that I'm working on digital trust concept, and generally digital trust concept started with the Web2 world, but it's very important in Web3 because generally it's known with trustless concept, but people can also achieve to manipulate it with the things they learn from Web2 world. So if we come to this this point, how do we establish trust and transparency if we want to use AI in this centralized way?
can hold a whole conference around that. I mean, where do we start? I mean, you have to start even at where the data came from. Okay. Is the data itself clean? Then were there any data injection attacks that happened in the pre-training process? To how's the model kind of running in production? So there's this whole AI pipeline, and so across that entire pipeline, there's many, many different levers that you can pull to make sure that there's trust that's ensured. Data quality, where it's from, who's the person that's labeling it, who's the person that's making censorship decisions about the data, what should be included, what should not be included. Then once you do a pre-training of the model, you test it on new data, and you're like, oh wait, it's exhibiting a lot of bias, and it's actually, there's a new paper by Anthropic that says that in many cases with specific simulated event, 96% of the time, Claude 4 would blackmail a person. And so, like, is that the outcome that we want? That's not the outcome we want. We want AI to serve human beings' needs. And so it's a very complex question because at every stage there is something that needs to be done. Even if the model is running in production, let's say you spot that there's an occurrence of this blackmail that is happening, then you need some mechanism to either shut off the agent or severely slash or give some type of incentive mechanisms for the AI agent to not do that. So it's a complex problem, and there's many different solutions that need to be implemented. The things that I just mentioned, we published like 4 research papers on that alone this quarter. So yeah, there's like, if you want to get like super nerdy on it, even if you do centralized federated learning, which means that there's multiple players that want to train a model, none of the players know each other's data, and then they share the data to create a model in a kind of private way. We figured out a way to inject poison data into that process, even though it's supposed to be super secure. And blockchains can actually solve that particular problem as well. So yeah, there's a lot to that question. We can go super deep on it.
But I think the hope is that on the blockchain, everything is verifiable, theoretically, so and traceable as well.
Yes.
So from that perspective, you know, from CertiK point of view, when we do the security assessment, it's easier. I mean, we can find ways to do it, but yeah, there's a lot to go.
And I guess in the security side, the most important tenet is the non-repudiation. And in the Web3 world, we can achieve this with the help of the features of blockchain. So it also improves the security side. What do you think about this?
Yeah, well, I think my angle is very different. When we look at trustless, and this is kind of the whole vision, we want to build this trust minimized kind of, you know, bridging solution, right? There's a lot of trust still involved in the Web3 architect setup, right? When we set up the nodes, you know, when we actually build a raw blockchain infrastructure, there's still some trust assumptions, right? Theoretically, we can't break the physics. Even with Bitcoin, there's still some, you know, bare minimum trust assumption. When we look at WBTC, which is the current biggest, you know, most adopted wrapped BTC, right? It's just a multi-sig setup, right? It started from 2018. And ironically, in case people don't know, some of the private keys owned by a person, you know, quite famous, but to a certain degree, quite controversial, whose name is Mr. Justin Sun, right? So there's gonna be some trust assumption involved. There's some elephant in the room kind of question we need to address. And that's why we're building the infrastructure. We want to have a sit-down conversation to a lot of people. Are you willing to actually bridge your thousands of BTC, especially some institution, right, via this like multi-sig setup, right? We all know the recent hacks with Bybit and other, you know, Genesis hacks, which was very unfortunate. It's just a multi-sig hack. So that's about trust assumption and you know what kind of risk is behind that, right? So the whole world of completely trustless, it's a holy grail, right? It's not easy to achieve, and there's like still a lot of trade-offs on that. The way we are bringing the solution of BVM is like doing this using the Bitcoin script to build around this on-chain fraud proof approach. So we at least can lower down the trust assumption, right? The majority of trust assumption, the majority honest trust assumption on the bridges is still quite a big elephant in the room question. So we want to kind of move that needle forward. Yeah, I think it's an ideal world, right? When we have like high scalability, you know, purely decentralized and private transaction with everything 100% trustless. Like it's like fast, cheap, and good. Like it's kind of difficult to achieve that, and it takes time to really have different trade-offs and different design choices. But I think in the Bitcoin world, which is the most important, largest asset, like a network right now, This is something which I feel is the most important problem we should solve. Outside of all the fear monger about quantum computer and everything else, that's like the first important thing. That's what we're building on.
I guess this is enough for trust topic now. If, for example, if I am a developer or startup or entrepreneur, can you give me advice where to start to this journey to using community-powered AI?
docs.0g.ai. Very simple to build. We've got SDKs.
No comment on that.
I would remind the developer to keep security in mind because it's a whole infrastructure. It's very this is two very front-running technologies emerging together, and obviously it's I don't think any existing solution is going to solve the problem or solve to really be the to really show you the way to the end point. So keep the security in mind, and then make sure that you can have those allow the entrance point for the users and give them a good pathway of knowing that how they can protect their data. Yeah, and also check on CertiK's website. We'll keep pushing on new blogs. How to do that.
I would love to learn more about the proper, adaptable, achievable business model.
Yeah, we have some tests
from you if I want to start a business in this domain.
Yeah, we have blogs about the test results of AI agents and why they fail and what are the possible ways of hacking into the AI agents. So yeah, those could be the good articles to read. I mean, on top of reading the 0G website. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess last question. Is this space develops, what do you see as the biggest obstacles or risks? What should builders and decision makers keep top of mind when exploring this intersection?
I think one of the biggest risks is this idea that we should get to AGI at all costs in the fastest way possible. It's very risky because if it's not properly aligned and then AGI basically figures out to reprogram itself and one day wakes up and says, oh, I can actually break into a centralized database, do a bunch of deep fake content and change a bunch of stuff about my parameters. And by the way, I don't need human beings in the loop anymore, I can run this much better myself, then we have a major issue. I was actually in Washington, D.C. about 2 weeks ago, and I spoke with a number of congressmen. One of them is Bill Foster, who's a particle physics PhD, and he shared the same concern. He basically said that closed source systems will have a survivorship bias. What that means is that they will try to hide that they have nefarious intentions as models, and only when they're released and fully sovereign will they exhibit those biases. And so that's a very dangerous state of affair, because in open systems you can quickly see if, oh, this data may be causing this level of bias or corruption specifically, and you can quickly turn off these types of features. And so that's why open systems are very, very important. So I think just getting to AGI at all costs is very dangerous for humanity.
While we have an AGI problem, I think the other side on the Bitcoin, I was in BTC Prague last week talking to a lot of Bitcoin core, and it's ultimate Bitcoin maxi folks, very different crowd, right, compared to the Washington crowd, I guess. The problem right now, I think the biggest elephant in the room is we are in this era of a lot of TradFi company on Wall Street, the people wearing suits are being very proud about talking about Bitcoin treasury company, putting everything in transaction just off-chain, buying stocks, which actually goes against the whole principle of what is decentralization, what are the on-chain transactions, because we actually don't need anything. Why should people trust a public listed company from Japan, which was just a hotel? They pumped a couple 100x FDV because they're holding Bitcoin now. For me, it's a bit ridiculous, right? And people are just buying that instead of actually using their hard-earned money, buying things that, with self-custody, with their cold wallet, buying Bitcoin, right? I think there's some interesting fundamental logic flaw there, which is very interesting. with all due respect, a lot of the Wall Street people are bringing a lot of new liquidities, right? We're backed by Franklin Templeton. We're talking to all these ETF issuers. These people are bringing the new liquidity to the market, right? But I think the right setup for the Web3 and AI interaction in the future is high level for programmability, on-chain verifiable, high level decentralization with all these beautiful use cases like AI, others really built around on a decentralized network. Rather than just bragging about Bitcoin as a narrative, but asking all the stock market people to buy your stocks, which has nothing to do with Web3, to be honest. I think that's the part I feel a bit cynical sometimes, being a Web3 native guy, being in space for 10 years. And this cycle is very institutional adopted. We need to welcome institution. We are working with institution. But there's some mercenary people are using this with Bitcoin as narrative, Web3 as narrative as a whole, to do something which is a bit sketchy. And I want to keep calling out to the people in every single panel I'm going to go into in the rest of the year. What's going on there in the market, right? Why are you actually sending the money to the publicist company? What are you signing up for?
Yeah, very well said. I only want to add from the attitude point of view is, there will be a lot of FUD about this new technology, the AGIs, the merging of the AI with Web3s. I will ask everyone to stay vigilant and have some confidence in this industry. And we're addressing some really nice issues, and the future is very bright.
Thank you guys for your great insights. Yesterday we also talked about deep AI. I mean, in the intersection of AI with Web3 in another domain. I guess we will go on to see these discussions roll out here. And thank you for your attendance. Our session is ended.
Thank you.
Thank you.